All right, the second annual NBA Cup, or the Emeritus NBA Cup, or whatever it's called, has come to an end, and the Milwaukee Bucks are your NBA Cup champions. Led by a dominant performance from Giannis, some really good Bucks defense in the second half, some ghastly shooting from the Thunder, the Bucks are wielding the second ever NBA Cup. And I was thinking about the NBA Cup because last year I thought it was a success, obviously, but the NBA Cup last year I thought was a great opportunity for teams like the Pacers, who are not in the national spotlight enough, and they have a young core they want to show off and all that, and they make it all the way to the finals. Of course, they lose to the Lakers, but the NBA Cup not only garnered interest, but I feel like just if you're going through a season, this is like a new checkpoint. You can sort of stop and assess your team because it's after like 20 or so games, like over a quarter of the NBA season's gone by at that point, and then you have some real playoff intensity type of basketball. Although, let me put a pin in that. The NBA, I hope they don't stick to the format of having the game in Vegas, because man, that Vegas crowd was dead the last two games. I don't even remember it being that dead last year, but I guess that speaks to how well Laker fans travel, because they were pretty loud, obviously. But I hope the NBA doesn't stick to like a tradition of having this game in Vegas. It would have been nice to have like, you know, a team have like home court advantage all the way through the NBA Cup or something like that, or all the way through the bracket. But in the first half, I thought it was interesting because the Thunder did not shoot the ball well. Much like in the game against the Houston Rockets in the semifinals, they didn't shoot well in the first half. And I thought, well, they're only down one at half. Even though I thought the Bucks did a good job early on, at least, of funneling the offense to Isaiah Hartenstein for floaters or Lou Dort for threes. And if that was going to be the formula for the Thunder to win, then the Bucks were just going to have to shake their hand. I thought a little shooting progression to the mean would happen for the Thunder in the second half and would sort of pull away, but that didn't happen. But I thought the Bucks did a good job limiting the Thunder in that way, making sure Shai Gilgeous-Alexander plays in a crowd. Although I still thought their one-on-one defense on the ball was a little iffy because the Thunder still got into the paint at will and, you know, kicked it out to open shooters. It's not like the Thunder shot bad threes. They had open shots. They were just not making them. And that is a concern I have with the Thunder offense. It's not that, you know, Lou Dort, of course, is a 40% three-point shooter. But you could see the Bucks were willing to let Lou Dort fire away. They were sort of willing to let Alex Caruso fire away because they are not the type of shooters that you have to pay attention to 24/7, stick to them like glue, like a, say, Klay Thompson, or even an Isaiah Joe, for example. There's a difference between how teams, you know, try to cover Isaiah Joe and watch for his off-ball actions versus, you know, allowing Lou Dort and Alex Caruso and Jalen Williams to shoot threes. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was never like a knockdown three-point shooter in his career, and he's taking a lot more this year, but he's still like shooting below league average. Tonight he was 2 of 9, and I also thought the Bucks did a good job, especially in the second half. I thought in the second half the Bucks did a great job just shutting everything off at that point, because in the first half they were still giving up paint points. But man, that Bucks defense in the second half was just incredible. AJ Green guarded his yard. Gary Trent Jr. I thought was a lot better defensively in that second half too. Shut off a couple of drives, made Shai Gilgeous-Alexander take those baseline jumpers, like fading away, making sure there was an extra guy in the paint all the time, whether it was Brook Lopez or Giannis. The Bucks just did a fantastic job cutting off the drives and keeping Shai Gilgeous-Alexander out of the paint and making him more of a pull-up three-point shooter. And then on offense, Giannis was just fucking dominant. I mean, this is one of the special players the game has ever seen, and he just doesn't get talked about as much anymore. He's finished third in MVP the last 3 seasons, I believe, but this guy is still, to me, the second best player in the world, right behind Jokic. And it's not just the defense, it's just he keeps evolving offensively. Last year, he improved his playmaking. This year, he has a more refined mid-post game, fadeaway jumper, that mid-range. We all know the percentages there. It's a career high by an absurd margin. But Giannis just keeps getting better. And then, of course, defensively, he is still one of the special free safety weak side defenders ever. Had a few blocks on some drives tonight against Alex Caruso. But Giannis has been on an absolute tear, and the Bucks were a team that I highlighted within the first week or two of the season, because early on, especially in that 2-8 start, they were just looking old, creaky. Giannis was having to do a lot, but Doc Rivers has rebuilt that defensive identity. The older guys are guarding better. Damian Lillard was guarding his ass off tonight. By the way, really quickly, shout out to Cason Wallace of the Thunder. He was making impact plays everywhere, was just really good defensively, made a bunch of hustle plays, all that stuff. Really, after that sequence where the Bucks ended up getting 5 points in one possession because of a loose ball that Lou Dort had, and Giannis jumped on his back. It was a foul, but the refs didn't call it. And then the Thunder got 2 subsequent technical fouls, the 2 free throws for the Bucks, and then the Bucks got the 3-pointer off the jump ball that shouldn't have been called a jump ball. That kind of started the downward spiral I felt for the Thunder. You know, on top of the bad 3-point shooting and just the fact they had no answer for Giannis. But at that point, the Bucks offense was running smoothly. Brook Lopez and Gary Trent Jr. started bombing from 3. AJ Green put in a really good 2-way performance and was 3 of 5 from 3, and at that point, the Thunder were just finished. But this is a great milestone marker for the Bucks and their season. Started out 2-8. Everybody, including myself, were expressing concern because at that point, the vets on the vet minimum that the Bucks signed did not play well to that point, except for Taurean Prince. The defense did not play well. Brook Lopez had like a 1 or 2 bad week stretch where it looked like he was sort of washed. Chris Middleton hadn't played to that point. They still weren't running enough 2-man game between Dame and Giannis. But now they've turned it around. The offense has been top 10 the last 2 weeks. The defense is still rounding into form, but I thought tonight was a prime example of how the Bucks could lock in not only scheme-wise, scouting report-wise, but even though the players are older, they could still put in a better effort, bending their knees, dropping their hips, and sliding their feet. And I thought they did a great job of that tonight, especially in the second half, where the Thunder really, it was hard for the Thunder to get into the paint, as opposed to, the first half, where I thought it was a little bit easier, even though the Thunder were shooting like shit from 3. I thought the Bucks defense in the second half, that's the type of defense you want to see as a Bucks fan. That's a formula for making a deep playoff run. And while this game won't count in the official record books, I guess these finals never will or whatever. I don't know what they're going to do with that. This was a fantastic game for Giannis, and as they slowly move up the standings, that MVP race, although I would have probably Jokic 1 right now, that MVP race is going to get really interesting because I think Giannis is closer than a lot of people are letting on. He's just incredible, man. And this is a great milestone type of thing for the Bucks as they continue their season turnaround.